Elena sat on the edge of her bed, her laptop glowing faintly in the dark. The hospital shift had been long, her feet ached, but she told herself she'd feel better once she checked her savings account. That money was her light at the end of the tunnel. Every overtime shift, every holiday she worked instead of resting, had gone into it. But when the page loaded, her stomach twisted. The numbers on the screen didn't make sense. She blinked hard, refreshed the page, even rubbed her eyes as if fatigue was tricking her. But no, the balance was almost gone. Thousands of dollars had vanished. Her breath caught in her throat. That money was supposed to be the down payment for the house she and David had talked about for years. The little home with a porch where she imagined her mother could sit in the mornings. The home that meant safety and roots after a lifetime of renting tiny apartments. Her pulse raced, each thud pounding in her ears. Panic pushed at her chest, but beneath it, a sharper feeling bloomed: betrayal. The floor creaked behind her. David's voice broke the silence. "You're still up?" he asked casually, though his eyes flicked to the glowing screen. Elena turned the laptop toward him, her voice tight. "David, where's the money?" For a second, something flickered across his face. Hesitation, fear. Before he masked it with a smile. "Babe, relax. I moved it around, that's all. Some investments, you know? Don't worry, it's safe." But the way his hand rubbed the back of his neck, the way his eyes avoided hers, only made her panic sharpen. "Investments?" she repeated, her voice breaking. "Without telling me? That was our savings, David. Years of it. Every shift I killed myself for, every holiday I missed with Mom, where is it?" His laugh was forced, too loud in the quiet apartment. "You're overreacting. I'll explain later, okay? You need to trust me." Trust. The word stung like a slap. She stared at him, searching his face, but all she found were cracks. Nervous glances, shallow excuses. He looked less like her husband, and more like a stranger with secrets he wasn't ready to share. Elena's chest tightened. Was this just reckless financial behavior? Or was it something darker? Another life she didn't know about? A shadow she hadn't seen before? The room felt smaller, colder. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but fear kept her still. Fear that if she pushed too hard, the truth would come spilling out, and she wasn't sure she was ready for it. Her eyes returned to the glowing screen, the empty account staring back at her like an open wound. In that moment, something shifted inside her. Trust wasn't just slipping, it was breaking. And the question that pulsed louder than her heartbeat was simple. Would she fight back, or would she let silence bury her? Grew up poor, always valued security and independence. That was Elena's truth. She could still remember the nights when her mother, Mrs. Cole, would skip dinner just so Elena could eat. Bills were always late, food was always stretched, and every winter meant patching old coats instead of buying new ones. Elena grew up watching her mother struggle to make ends meet, and in her heart she made herself a promise. She would never live like that again. From her very first job as a teenager, Elena saved. While her friends spent their paychecks on clothes or parties, she tucked hers into a savings account. It wasn't easy, but it gave her a sense of power she had never known before. By the time she became a nurse, she was already used to working long shifts, budgeting carefully, and setting money aside for the future. Every dollar wasn't just money, it was safety. It was proof she would never have to beg or feel helpless the way she had as a child. David entered her life in her mid-20s, and at first, he seemed like everything she had ever wanted. He was charming, funny, ambitious, and he made her feel seen. Unlike others, he didn't look at her as the poor girl trying to get by. He looked at her like she was someone worth loving. He had dreams of building a business, traveling the world, living big. Elena admired that spark in him. But David also had a side she chose to overlook: reckless spending, impulsive choices, and a habit of brushing off financial concerns with a smile. He liked expensive dinners even when money was tight. He liked buying gifts he couldn't afford. At first, Elena thought it was harmless, just a difference in personalities. She told herself love meant compromise, and maybe she was too cautious, too rigid with money. David made her laugh, made her believe in a brighter future. So she ignored the red flags. On the surface, their marriage looked picture perfect. They went to family gatherings holding hands, posted smiling photos online, and told everyone they were saving for their first house together. To outsiders, they were the ideal couple, a hardworking nurse and her ambitious husband, building a life side by side. but underneath cracks were showing. David often came home late, brushing off questions with vague answers. Meetings, he'd say. Work ran long. Sometimes she caught a strange tension in his voice, like he was hiding something, but she pushed the thought away. They argued about money, but he always promised things would get better soon. Elena carried most of the financial weight, quietly adding more and more to their savings while David's contributions were smaller and less frequent. Elena didn't tell many people about these cracks. Only Marissa, her best friend since high school, knew the truth. Marissa was blunt, fiercely loyal, and never afraid to speak her mind. She often warned Elena, "David's charm won't pay the bills, Lena. You're the one holding everything together." Elena would just smile and defend him, though deep down she knew her friend wasn't wrong. Then there was her mother, Mrs. Cole, who still depended on Elena. Her mother was getting older, her health more fragile, and Elena often helped with bills, groceries, and doctor visits. The thought of moving her mother into a home they owned gave Elena strength during her longest shifts at the hospital. It wasn't just about having a roof over her head. It was about giving her mother comfort and dignity. That was why her savings mattered so much. It wasn't just money sitting in an account. It was the lifeline she had built brick by brick, dollar by dollar, over years of sacrifice. It was her future security, her independence, her promise to herself that she would never again feel powerless. And it was the hope of giving her mother a safe home, a place where she could rest without worry. Now, staring at her drained account, Elena realized that lifeline had been cut. The trust she placed in David was tied to every dollar she saved, and losing it felt like losing herself. The betrayal wasn't just about numbers on a screen. It was about everything she had worked for, everything she had vowed to protect. Her heart ached, but beneath the ache was a spark. Elena had survived growing up with nothing. She had built her future with her own hands once before, and deep inside she knew she could do it again. Elena digs deeper, pulling bank statements. She sits at the kitchen table long after midnight, paper spread out in front of her, the only light coming from the small lamp by the sink. Her hands shake as she flips page after page, highlighting transactions she doesn't recognize. The amounts are large, thousands at a time, moved out of her account over the past several months. Her throat goes dry when she notices the notes attached to some of the transfers. One name keeps appearing, written clearly next to the payments, Sierra. Elena stares at the word as if it burns her. Who was Sierra? A friend? A business partner? No, the notes don't look professional. They look personal. And when she checks the dates, her stomach twists. The transfers happened on nights David claimed he was working late. Her pulse quickens, and a sick feeling rises in her chest. Slowly, painfully, the truth starts to form. David hadn't just made bad financial choices. He had been secretly giving her money, their money, to another woman. Elena presses her hand to her mouth, fighting the urge to cry out. Betrayal crashes over her in waves. It isn't only the money, it's the years of sacrifice behind every dollar. All those double shifts, skipped meals, aching feet, and missed holidays. She saved to build a life, and he handed it to someone else. Her mind races with questions. Who is Sierra? How long has this been going on? And why would David steal from her, the woman who had always carried them both, just to give to someone else? The thought makes her feel small and foolish. While she dreamed of a home for her mother and herself, David had been building a different dream, one she wasn't a part of. Elena wants to storm into the bedroom, wake him up, and scream the truth in his face. She wants to demand answers, to throw the papers at him and watch him squirm. But something inside her holds back. If she confronts him now, he'll lie. He'll twist the truth, the same way he did when she asked about the missing money. She needs more. Proof. A clear picture of who Sierra is, and what David has really been doing. So instead, she wipes her tears and takes a deep breath. Quietly, she opens her laptop and begins searching. She types in the name Sierra, scrolling through social media, looking for any clue. At first there are too many results, but then she finds her. Sierra Martin. Young, stylish, her photos filled with bright smiles and expensive handbags. Elena's chest tightens as she clicks through pictures of luxury dinners, weekend getaways, and designer clothes. This wasn't just some casual connection. This woman lived a lifestyle Elena could never afford, not on a nurse's salary. And the horrible truth settles in her gut. It was her money making that lifestyle possible. Elena's heart shatters all over again. She feels rage and shame mixed together, hot tears running down her face as she scrolls through picture after picture. Vacations David claimed he couldn't afford to take her on. He had been giving that money to Sierra instead. Gifts she had quietly denied herself to save more. He had been buying for another woman. But Elena doesn't close the laptop. She keeps looking, clicking deeper, noting dates, photos, and posts that line up perfectly with the transfers. Each discovery is like a knife, but it also sharpens her resolve. She whispers to herself, almost like a vow, "I'll find out everything. I won't let him bury me with lies." That night, as she finally crawls into bed beside David, she lies stiff and silent. He sleeps peacefully, unaware of the storm gathering inside her. Elena stares at the ceiling, her mind racing with images of Sierra's smiling face, David's nervous excuses, and the empty account that once held her future. The betrayal has cut deep, but Elena knows one thing with certainty. She will not stay silent. Not this time. Elena plays the dutiful wife at home while unraveling David's lies. On the outside, she cooks dinner, asks about his day, and forces a smile when neighbors wave at them. But inside, every word, every glance, feels heavy. She watches him more closely now, looking for cracks in his mask. The tension builds quickly. David starts coming home later than usual, his excuses vague. "Work ran late," he mutters, brushing past her to the shower. Sometimes he smells of an unfamiliar perfume, sweet and floral, clinging to his clothes. When Elena asks gentle questions, "How was work? Why so late?" he bristles, snapping that she's acting paranoid. The man who once laughed easily now grows defensive at the smallest things. If she asks about the bills, he slams his fork down at dinner. If she wonders about his phone, he guards it like a secret, keeping it face down on the table or tucked tightly in his pocket. Each reaction fuels the fire inside her, confirming what she already knows. Sierra is not just a name on a bank statement. In private, Elena keeps digging. She spends her nights scrolling through Sierra's social media, each picture like a punch to the stomach. Sierra flaunts handbags that cost more than Elena's monthly salary. She poses in designer dresses, sits at rooftop bars, and posts selfies from beach resorts. Elena zooms in on the details, bracelets, shoes, even hotel names. None of it matches Sierra's supposed income. It all matches the stolen money. One evening, Elena does the cruel math. The handbags, the trips, the endless luxury. All of it lined up with the amounts missing from her account. Her life savings had been drained to fund another woman's glamour. Elena drops her phone, her chest heaving with rage and shame. Years of sacrifice, her aching back from hospital shifts, her mother's quiet sacrifices, all poured into another woman's shallow joys. The emotions swirl in her until she feels like she might break. Rage makes her want to scream. Shame makes her feel small, like she should have seen the signs earlier. Heartbreak makes her curl up at night, staring at the man who sleeps beside her, wondering how love turned into this. Marissa is the only one Elena confides in. When she tells her friend the truth, Marissa's face turns hard. "Lena, you can't keep quiet about this. He's stealing from you. He's humiliating you. Expose him. Let everyone know what he's doing." But Elena shakes her head. Her voice trembles. "I can't, Marissa. My mother, she's fragile. Do you know what this would do to her if it became public? If people whispered about her daughter's husband? I can't put her through that." Marissa grabs her hand, her voice fierce. "And what about you? You've already put yourself through hell for him. How much more will you take?" The words sting because they're true. Elena wants to fight, but fear holds her back. Fear of shame, of gossip, of hurting her mother. Fear that speaking the truth will shatter what little she has left. So she stays silent, at least in public. At home, the silence between her and David grows heavier. Dinners are quiet, broken only by the scrape of forks. When friends invite them out, they smile for photos, holding hands like nothing is wrong. But behind closed doors, the house feels cold, filled with unspoken accusations. Elena studies him the way a nurse studies a patient, noting every change. The tired eyes, the nervous laugh, the excuses that grow weaker each day. David no longer looks like the man she fell in love with. He looks like a stranger hiding behind a wall of lies. And still Elena waits. She builds her own wall of patience, collecting every clue, every detail, every piece of evidence. Because when the moment comes, she won't just confront him. She'll make sure the truth can never be denied. But the waiting isn't easy. Each day tests her strength. Each night stretches long with questions that gnaw at her heart. Who is Sierra to him? How deep does the betrayal go? And when the truth finally comes out, will she be strong enough to face it? The icy distance in their marriage grows clearer with each passing week. They share the same home, the same bed, but not the same world. David lives in shadows, Elena in silence. And in that silence, something begins to harden inside her. Not just anger, but resolve. Elena finally confronts Sierra face to face. It happens on a gray Saturday afternoon, in a small cafe across town. Elena had tracked Sierra's favorite spots through her social media, and when she saw her checking in at the cafe, she didn't hesitate. She walked in, her heart hammering, her hands tight around her phone. Sierra sat at a table near the window, sipping a fancy drink, her nails painted a glossy red, her designer purse resting beside her like a trophy. She looked exactly like the pictures Elena had studied for weeks, confident, polished, untouchable. Elena walked straight up to her. Sierra? The young woman looked up, her eyes narrowing slightly as she scanned Elena. Do I know you? Yes, Elena said, her voice sharp though her knees trembled. You know my husband, David. Recognition flickered in Sierra's eyes, but she quickly covered it with a smirk. Ah, the wife. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her legs casually. I was wondering how long it would take you to show up. Elena's throat tightened, but she forced herself to stay steady. I know about the money. The transfers. The account was mine, my savings. He stole from me to give to you. For the first time, Sierra blinked. Then, to Elena's shock, she laughed. Oh, sweetheart. You really didn't know? She tilted her head, almost amused. David told me it was his money. Said he worked hard for it. Said he wanted a new life with me. Elena's stomach dropped. She had expected anger, maybe denial. But not this. Not the cruel twist that David had been lying to both of them. Sierra leaned forward, her voice lower now, dripping with disdain. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. You're too soft. Too trusting. You handed him control and expected him not to use it. Men like David, they take what they want. The word stung, cutting deep. But Elena refused to flinch. You knew he was married, she said coldly. Sierra's lips curled. So what? If you couldn't keep him, that's your problem, not mine. She lifted her cup, sipping lazily as if the conversation bored her. Rage burned through Elena, but before she could respond, the door of the cafe opened, and David walked in. The air shifted instantly. He froze when he saw them together, his face draining of color. Elena, he stammered. What are you doing here? Elena stood tall, her phone secretly recording in her hand beneath the table. I'm doing what I should have done months ago. I'm facing the truth. David's eyes darted between her and Sierra, panic rising. This isn't what it looks like. Sierra scoffed, rolling her eyes. Oh, don't start, David. She already knows everything. Well, almost everything. Elena's voice cut like a blade. I know you stole my savings. I know you lied to both of us, and I want to hear it from your mouth. David's mask slipped, the charming smile falling away. His voice grew hard, bitter. You don't understand, Elena. Do you know what it's like being married to someone who never needs you? Who saves every penny, who makes you feel like you're just extra? Elena's chest tightened. You mean because I was responsible? Because I carried us when you couldn't? Yes. David's voice rose, drawing stares from nearby tables. His face twisted with resentment. You made me feel small. Useless. Like I wasn't the man in this marriage. You had all the power, Elena, and I wanted it back. Giving Sierra that money. It made me feel like I was in control again. Like I wasn't just living in your shadow. The confession hit Elena like a slap, but she stayed firm. You destroyed our marriage because your pride was hurt. David's jaw clenched. I had to. You would never understand. Sierra, clearly enjoying the chaos, smirked. Pathetic. You promised me a new life, David. All that talk about starting over, building something together. And now what? You can't even keep your lies straight. David snapped at her. Shut up, Sierra. You're just... No. Elena cut him off, her voice steady now. Keep talking. Both of you. Please. Every word is proof. She lifted her phone slowly. showing them the glowing red recording light. Their faces drained of color. You, David's voice faltered. You recorded this? Yes, Elena said firmly. Every word. The theft, the betrayal, the way you justified stealing the future I built with my own hands. She turned to Sierra. And you just proved you knew enough to take part in it. Sierra's confidence cracked, her smirk fading. You wouldn't. I would, Elena said, her voice sharp. And I will. Because I'm done being soft. I'm done being silent. The cafe had gone quiet around them, every eye fixed on the scene unfolding. David looked small now, shrinking under the weight of his own words. Sierra turned away, her bravado collapsing into silence. Elena slipped the phone into her pocket, her heart pounding not with fear anymore but with power. She had the truth. She had the proof. And for the first time in months, she felt like herself again. Not the betrayed wife, not the helpless victim, but the woman who had built her life through grit and sacrifice. She looked at David one last time. You wanted control? Now watch me take it back. Then she walked out of the cafe, her step steady, the recording safe in her pocket, the weapon she would use to reclaim everything he tried to steal. Elena uses the recording and evidence to file for divorce and reclaim her stolen funds through legal action. She meets with a lawyer the very next week, sliding her phone across the desk. The lawyer listens carefully to the recording, nodding slowly as David's angry confession and Sierra's mocking words fill the office. This is more than enough, the lawyer says firmly. He admitted to stealing from you, and you have clear proof. We'll move forward with the divorce and press for full financial recovery. For the first time in months, Elena feels hope. The power is no longer in David's hands, it's in hers. The court process is painful but necessary. David tries to charm the judge at first, claiming it was all a misunderstanding, but the recording destroys his lies. His own words, about feeling emasculated, about taking control, become his downfall. Sierra is called as a witness, but when she realizes she might be dragged into the mess, she distances herself. She turns cold, refusing to support David, and their so-called romance crumbles in public view. In the end, the court sides with Elena. She reclaims her stolen savings, wins a fair settlement, and finalizes the divorce. David walks away with nothing but shame. His reputation takes a heavy hit. Friends who once admired him now whisper about his betrayal, and Sierra abandons him the moment the money runs dry. He is left alone, broken, his pride shattered. For Elena, it's the beginning of something new. With her recovered funds, she finally makes the move she dreamed of for years. She buys her own property, a small apartment, not fancy, but entirely hers. The keys in her hand feel like freedom. Standing inside those walls, she doesn't see emptiness. She sees strength, independence, and safety. She begins therapy soon after, not because she is weak, but because she is ready to heal. In the quiet office, she speaks about her childhood, her years of saving, her love for David, and the pain of betrayal. Week by week, she learns to let go of the shame that was never hers to carry. She learns to trust herself again, to honor her sacrifices instead of questioning them. Slowly, the wounds begin to close. She no longer scrolls through Sierra's photos at night. She no longer replays David's excuses in her head. Instead, she makes plans for herself, traveling one day, maybe even pursuing a master's degree in nursing. She feels her life stretching forward again, not chained by betrayal but lit by possibility. Elena realizes something powerful. Her worst betrayal was not the end of her story, but the turning point. David thought he could take control by stealing from her, but in doing so, he gave her clarity. He showed her what she would never again tolerate. He pushed her toward her own strength. Every time she turns the key in her apartment door, she remembers the promise she made to herself as a girl, that she would never be helpless. And now she knows she never will be. Elena sits in her new apartment, simple but entirely hers. The walls are bare, the furniture modest, but the silence feels warm instead of heavy. For the first time in a long time, the space around her reflects only her. No lies, no shadows, no betrayal. Just peace. She makes a cup of tea and sets it on the little table by the window. Outside, the city hums with life, but she feels calm, steady, as if she is finally moving at her own pace. She pulls out her journal, the one she used to fill with plans and numbers when she was saving every cent. Now she uses it for something different. Herself. Her pen moves slowly at first, but then the words flow. I thought I lost everything the night I found my account empty. But what I really lost was an illusion. And what I gained was myself. She pauses, reading the line again. It feels true in a way that almost makes her laugh. For months, she believed David's betrayal had ruined her. She believed she was broken, weak, and foolish. But now, sitting here, she sees clearly. He only took money, not her spirit. He tried to control her, but instead he set her free. She closes the journal gently, placing it on the shelf next to her nursing textbooks. She doesn't know exactly what the future holds, but she knows she's ready for it. Whether it's traveling, studying further, or simply enjoying her independence, the path is hers alone to choose. The clock on the wall ticks softly. Elena leans back in her chair, takes a sip of tea, and lets herself smile. It's not a bitter smile, not one born of revenge or anger. It's quiet, soft, and full of peace. The world tried to break her, first through deception, then through theft, then through heartbreak. But here she is, not broken at all. Stronger, lighter, free. She stands, walks to her apartment door, and locks it with her own key. That small sound, the click of security, feels like victory. Elena doesn't need applause or recognition or anyone else's approval. Her triumph is quieter than that, but no less powerful. She has taken back control. And that, she knows, is the greatest freedom of all. Hi loves. Thanks for sticking with me till the end. Sparkling heart, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button for more stories. See you next time. Waving hand.